Hello everyone, welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Now channel. As Carter and Daphne tie the knot, Dylan throws Ivy right where she belongs, under the bus. Love soared at Forrester Creations, while a reckoning exploded at the beach house. In one of those perfectly balanced bold and the beautiful episodes that juggles romance and scandal in equal measure, Carter Walton and Daphne Rose said, "I do," in a spontaneous, swoon-worthy ceremony, just as Dylan finally decided she'd had enough of Ivy Forrester's manipulation. And let's just say, when Dylan told the truth, she didn't hesitate. She threw Ivy right where she belonged, under the bus. And this time, there were witnesses. "Forget everything I said," Dylan tries to backpedal. The episode opens at the beach house, where Will Spencer and Dylan have just returned from Il Giardino. Dylan is already second-guessing herself. She encourages Will to forget everything she told him about Ivy. Let it go. Move on. Pretend it didn't happen. Classic trauma response. But she'll stay for a sandwich. And honestly, that sandwich looked like a deluxe Dagwood masterpiece. No judgment here. Meanwhile, at Forrester Creations, Ivy is doing what Ivy does best lately, rewriting reality. She tells Elektra to cut her losses and stop obsessing over Dylan. It's time to move on. The coldness is striking. The woman who once positioned herself as compassionate and supportive is now basically telling her niece that a struggling young woman is disposable. So sensitive, that Aussie. An impromptu wedding, because why wait? In the Forrester showroom, a very different energy is building. Brooke Logan, Ridge Forrester, Donna Logan, Eric Forrester, Finn, and Steffi gather for what can only be described as a blink-and-you'll-miss-it wedding. Carter Walton and Daphne Rose have decided not to wait. No drawn-out planning. No months of drama. No tropical destination shoot required. Just love, here and now. But who's officiating? Enter Zend Forrester Dominguez, newly ordained for the occasion. Poor Zend. At least now we know why he's suddenly around for every wedding. When Ridge tells Eric he's glad he made it, Eric quips that he wasn't sure his security card would still work after being forced into retirement. Oh, and he's been busy. The shade practically writes itself. Brooke giggles to Ridge that they must have started a trend by getting married at Forrester. Why waste money on exotic backdrops when you've got couture racks and dramatic lighting? As the music begins, Daphne enters. Radiant doesn't even begin to cover it. Zend proceeds to call her the nose of Paris, which, yes, we know she's a perfumer, but still. Oof. Ivy continues to spew poison. Back in the design office, Ivy doubles down. She insists to Elektra that Dylan should never have been alone with Will in the first place. The implication? Impropriety. Scandal. Temptation. Elektra is visibly stunned by the cruelty in her aunt's voice. The version of events Ivy is selling feels wildly exaggerated, if not entirely fabricated. And at this point, one has to ask. Has Ivy quietly become one of the show's most obnoxious characters? After Ridge, of course. To make matters worse, she's basically talking to herself about how not proper the situation was. Lady. It was babysitting Hayes. Get a grip. Here comes the bride. As the ceremony begins, the focus shifts fully to Carter and Daphne. Ridge delivers a heartfelt speech about how Carter has finally found what he's always wanted, real love. "You're gonna be a great husband," Ridge tells him. Coming from a man with Ridge's marital history, that lands with irony. But the sentiment is sweet. When it's time for vows, Carter doesn't hesitate. He doesn't want a long engagement. He doesn't want to wait. He wants to start his life with Daphne now. Daphne beams, responding with her own romantic declaration, and yes, she says, we. Rings are exchanged. Cheers erupt. And when Zend introduces them as husband and wife, Daphne corrects him with a glowing smile. She'll be going by Daphne Walton from now on. It's a beautiful moment, spontaneous, emotional, and hopeful. Which, in soap terms, usually means turbulence is coming. WTH. Elektra walks into a bombshell. Back at the beach house, the emotional tone shifts dramatically. Elektra arrives after receiving a text from Will asking her to come ASAP. She's confused the moment she walks in and sees Dylan. What happened to the job? Good question. Will doesn't understand either, but he knows Ivy is involved. Dylan panics when she realizes Elektra is on her way. She doesn't want to cause problems. She doesn't want to hurt anyone. Will reassures her. She's safe. And she deserves to tell the truth. The truth comes out. Will gently asks Dylan to explain again what happened. This time, she doesn't hold back. She never left town. She's been living out of her car again. The job opportunity she supposedly couldn't pass up. A lie born of pressure. Dylan recounts that Ivy witnessed her and Will caring for Hayes that night, and twisted the innocent moment into something inappropriate. Instead of asking questions. Instead of trusting the truth. Ivy blackmailed her. Leave town. Or else. Elektra's face says it all. Horror. Disbelief. Betrayal. She apologizes to Dylan for everything she's endured, again. And just when the shock is settling in. The front door opens. Ivy walks into the hot seat. Will texted Ivy to come over. And now she's standing in the room, unaware that the entire narrative she carefully constructed has collapsed. Elektra looks at her aunt like she's seeing her for the first time. You did this. Will's voice is steady but firm. You've got a lot of explaining to do. For once, Ivy isn't in control of the story. She's cornered. And the people she tried to manipulate are standing together. Two worlds, two futures. The episode ends on a powerful contrast. At Forrester, Carter and Daphne are wrapped in newlywed bliss. They speak about transformation, possibility, and never having to search for love again. It's hopeful. It's clean. It's forward-moving. At the beach house, however, old wounds are cracking open. Trust has been shattered. Family loyalty is in question. And Ivy Forrester, once Elektra's unwavering role model, is suddenly looking like the villain of the hour. What happens now? Several explosive threads are now in motion. Will may never look at Ivy the same way again. Elektra has to reconcile the woman she idolized with the manipulator standing before her. Dylan is no longer hiding, and that changes everything. And Ivy's reputation at Forrester could take a serious hit if this spreads. Meanwhile, Carter and Daphne are blissfully unaware that the emotional storm building across town could eventually ripple into every corner of their world. Because on the bold and the beautiful, weddings rarely stay untouched by drama for long. And when someone like Ivy gets exposed, the fallout tends to be spectacular.